It's another 2026 rookie mock draft. We got the great Garret Price from the Dynasty Nerds here. Can't wait to get into it. Let's go. All right, Garret, you've been on the show a few times before. We're all excited to get into this. We got a Superflex mock draft for this 2026 class coming up. Garret, before we punch right into it and start with 1-1, do you have any general overviews of this class so far about what we've been seeing? Word on the street, from what I've heard from a few guests, is people not too impressed. I don't know if you're the same.
Yeah, I would fall under the same camp. A lot of it has to do with the weakness around running back. It's a very weak running back class. And overall, quarterback became disappointing, although there's hope. Ty Simpson did declare for the NFL draft today, so that adds a little bit. We'll see what happens with Dante Moore, if he ends up declaring or going back to school or not. So that helped a little bit. Wide receiver, I think, is fairly deep. I don't know that we have the earth-shattering prospects at the very top that we may have had in some other classes. But there's a lot of good players there. And I like some of the players at tight end. So it's not a horrid class, but it's definitely not one of the stronger classes we've had.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting at the minute. But you know how it is. We're sitting in January now. By the time we roll around, we get to like the summer. Everyone's getting like, "Oh, this is my guy," and this happens every year. I feel like everyone sort of gets their guys as we go on. So hopefully we'll have a bit more of a positive light when it comes to actual draft time, right?
For sure. For sure.
Absolutely. So let's roll into it then. Let's start with your 101. Who's the first guy coming off your board in this Superflex mock draft?
So today I'm gonna stick with Jeremiah Love, even though this is super flex.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with Jeremiah Love. There's a lot of good, I shouldn't say a lot. There are good quarterbacks in this class. You know, if Dante Moore comes out, he's a legitimate option for 1-1, as is Fernando Mendoza, who we already know is coming out. And there's some good receivers here. All of that being said, I don't want to miss. If I have the 1-1, I've got to hit. And I think Jeremiah Love is the safest prospect at the position or in this class, period. And so I've got to make sure I hit. So I am going to go with Jeremiah Love at 1-1.
What do you make of the sort of rumors right now about Love that he might go not just in the first round of the NFL draft, but really quite high? What does that do for your grading of a player when they get that huge like top 10 draft capital?
Obviously, it confirms, you know, if you're somebody that had a good score on him, it just kind of confirms that. I would be shocked right now if he falls outside of the top 15. I don't think he's going to be top 5, but I think he's going to be somewhere in that 6 to 15 range is where we'll end up seeing him go, partly due to him just being a really, really good running back, and partly due to there's not anybody else right now in this class, even in a close to being in the same tier. Right now, it would be Jeremiah Love, tier break, nothing, tier break. Then we're talking about other running backs. So, I mean, it is just it is a big gap between him and everybody else at this moment.
My favorite thing about Jeremiah Love, and you don't get players like that often, but I always love it when you get a player who has a signature move. And Jeremiah Love's spin move is like something that you get excited. Like the more you watch him, you're like, oh, he's doing it again. He's done it again. It's like he did the thing. He said the thing. You know, like I'm always excited when you see that because he's mastered that in a way that I've not seen anyone do in a long time.
Yeah, no, it's a thing of beauty. He can. There's a reason he was a Heisman candidate. I mean, he can do it between the tackles. He can do it on the outside. He can do it in the receiving game as well, which is huge for his value and our value of him in Dynasty Fantasy Football.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. So he's locked in as your 1-1. Let's go to the 1-2 spot, Gary. Who have you got sitting there?
So here's what makes doing a draft right now tricky, because there's a good chance that it would either be Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore, but it's really hard to pick Dante Moore here at 102 until I know that he's going to come out. So that's what makes this really tricky. So I'm going to take Fernando Mendoza, and I would probably pick him either way in a super flex league. But if it was a 1 QB, I was actually talking about this with my friend Jagger yesterday. If this is a 1 QB league, I'm probably taking Dante Moore over Fernando Mendoza because the ceiling for Moore is higher than Mendoza. And that's what I care about in one QB. Whereas in Superflex, I've got to start two of these guys. I got to make sure they hit. Fernando Mendoza does everything you want at the quarterback position. He's a better athlete than I think he's getting credit for right now. Not to the level of, oh, he's going to be Jaden Daniels. He's going to be Justin Fields. He's going to be Lamar, like nothing like that. But think Justin, a guy that's going to get 250 to 300 yards for the early part of his career. He's going to win in the pocket, but he's not a statue. He's not Jared Goff. He's not Matt Stafford. He's going to move around. He's going to run. He's going to be able to make some plays with his legs when it's needed.
Yeah, he's one I'm sort of slowly coming around to. Just watching him earlier in the season, I was sure that when he started playing stiffer opposition, he was going to get found out. Because to me, watching the tape of him, it looks like he stares down his number one receiver all the time and immediately throws it. And then I was talking to Matthew Cooper, who I believe does lots of stuff for the Dynasty. He cuts up the film for you guys, and he was kind of like, it's maybe more to do with the Indiana, the playbook they have rather than a Mendoza thing. So I'm trying to keep that in mind as well. And man, to see the way he played against Ohio State and the way he's played in the playoffs, I got to be impressed, right? He's really starting to shine, and I'm not surprised he won that Heisman Trophy. And I'm not surprised you have him at 1-2. Do you kind of see him then? For me, maybe best case scenario for him, a really solid quarterback 2. Do you think he can get higher than that?
I think he could live in that fringe quarterback 1, quarterback 2 range. I think he could be, have some seasons at quarterback 9, quarterback 10, something like that. But he'll have a lot of seasons as well at quarterback 13, 14, 15. So I think that's the range we'll see him in.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on there. So he's locked in at position number 2. Who's following right after him at 3?
All right. Am I assuming Moore's in or out? Because that's going to make the difference here.
Let's assume he's in, right? Let's hope.
All right.
Let's hope for the best.
Let's put Dante Moore in here then. If he's coming in, lots of things I like. The biggest concern is just the lack of starts. That is something that you do have to worry about. We've done a study at Dynasty Nerds, and the guys that have tons of starts under their belt versus guys that don't have very many starts, there's a pretty drastic difference between the two. So I do worry about that a little bit, but he's shown a lot, played well in the playoffs. He can do things with his legs as well, which we're going to really like that for our purposes here. I do like the kid. I'm not in love with the kid, but I like the kid enough, and especially with the value of quarterback, I'm going to take him here at 1-3.
Yeah, Dante Moore is someone I was super impressed with. What I've really liked is he's had quite a few injuries, I believe, over at Oregon. They've had quite a few receiving threats sort of drop out, and Dante Moore seems to me like he's really stepped up. You're seeing him use players like, is it Malik Benson? I can't quite remember the guy's first name, but Benson and players like that who you maybe wouldn't expect to be stars, but they're looking like stars of the playoffs right now. And I think that's more of a Dante Moore thing than it is a Benson thing. If I was to put money on it.
Yeah, no, he's played really well. You've even seen him at the end of games kind of do what needs done and lead the team down the field in big moments. So it's hard to not like him outside of lack of experience. And there's some times where he does make some errant throws and some things like that. But overall, definitely moving up on my board.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a great pick there at 1-3. Who's following him right after at pick 1-4?
All right. Well, I don't want to spoil too much, but this is where the wide receiver run happens for me. Yeah. I think there's 3 guys that we're going to be debating most of the time up to the draft. Who's the best one of the 3? And it's going to be Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, and MAKAI Lemon. For me today, right now, MAKAI Lemon is the guy for me that I would have at the top of that group. So I'll go ahead and go with MAKAI Lemon here. Just a lot of things in his game I really like. I know he's not as tall as the other 2, but he's built really, really well. Does a lot of great things after the catch and is just fine in contested catch situations because he plays very strong, has very strong hands. So I really like MAKAI Lemon.
Yeah, that is music to my ears. You're the first person I've heard that's got Lemon at the top of that heap. That isn't me, Garrett. So I'm super pleased.
There we go.
We're in agreement here. I think he is like spectacular. I think he has got everything to come into the league and be a quarterback's best friend pretty much immediately. We had a Dynasty show just released on the Dynasty Hotseat yesterday where I said I'm getting close to even putting him in a tier above the other two. I like Lemon that much. And I obviously still think Tyson and Tate are fantastic players, but for me, Lemon just, you mentioned at the start of the show, can't miss. I think he's about as close as can't miss can get. He might not reach the lofty heights of Tate if everything goes right, or of Tyson if everything goes right. But man, I just love players like Amon-Ra St. Brown, or you can get your high end of like JSN. I think Lemon can be that. Just a real solid player year in, year out. And for me, that's to steal a term from Dynasty Nerds. That's Dynasty Gold.
There we go.
Yeah, absolutely love him. So brilliant to hear him put in. Guys, if you're still here, by the way, thank you so much. If you would consider a like or a subscribe, that would be absolutely fantastic as we roll into our next pick at 105. Garrett, where are you going with this pick?
This one is really a coin toss for me. And I'm not going to argue anybody that has these three receivers in any order. I'm going to go with CARNELL Tate here out of Ohio State.
Yeah.
When you look at CARNELL Tate, he might not be quite as flashy and have maybe the same ceiling that we see out of Tyson. But I think he's a very safe prospect. He comes from Ohio State. We know that they train those guys up well, specifically at the wide receiver position. He does a lot of things really well. He does kind of remind me in the line of JSN and Emeka Egbuka, where those players didn't necessarily have one defining trait that you were like, oh my gosh. But they also didn't have a defining weakness where you were nervous or worried about them at all. CARNELL Tate kind of lines up that same way. There's nothing in his game that strikes me as worrisome, but there's also not that crowning jewel on top for him. So I really like CARNELL Tate. I don't know that he's an elite special player, but I think he's good enough to be a wide receiver 1 for an NFL team and a wide receiver 2 for your fantasy team for a long time.
Yeah, he's a bit of a funny one for me. So whenever I look through the notes that I've got just watching the games in season and the scores that I've assigned, he's way up with Lemon and Tyson. But with Lemon, when I look at the notes I've made game to game, it's like just a reel of all these things I've been impressed with, all these things that I've noticed. And the same with Tyson. I've got barely anything for CARNELL Tate. It's like he kind of just drifts through games, not, just almost like unassumingly. But then you look at the score at the end, you're like, oh, wow, he had like 10 catches that I didn't even like. It's like he's a ghost almost. So he kind of drifts through. And at the end of it, you're just like, wow, is that, I know you're a Ohio State fan. Is that how it feels like to watch the full game? I kind of only catch the highlights a lot of the time.
I mean, it's probably even worse in full game form because you get, Jeremiah Smith and you get some big time defensive plays and you get stuff from the running backs. True freshman Bo Jackson looks really good. And so it's easy for him to kind of just fall by the wayside, but that's what happened with Emeka. That's what happened with JSN. Yeah. Like these guys kind of fall into these roles where maybe they're not being featured as much as they would be at other schools, but when they're called upon, they make the play, they get the first down, they get the touchdown, and there's still big playability. It's not that they're not making big plays, but it's just a more unassuming role compared to other guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's locked in at pick number 5. Are we keeping this wide receiver run on the go here, or are we going somewhere else?
No, we're keeping it. We're keeping it. Give me Jordan Tyson here at pick 6. I would say for this one, this is probably the biggest boom bust of the 3 guys. Yeah. I think there's a real scenario that he ends up being the best of the group, but he could easily be the worst of the group as well. There's a lot of things in the game where you can see some really good body control. Is he a true burner? Is he a true separator? I still need to dig deep into the tape. I've just done surface level stuff. So we'll kind of have to wait and see where I can really give some good analysis on that. But right now I like Tyson, but I love Lemon, and I think Tate's just a hair better. So that's how it falls for me. This is no knock on Tyson. If he's your number one guy, I do not blame you. I think there's a lot to like in his game. Just from the little bit that I've seen so far, I think he's third out of these three guys for me.
What I would love, and this might exist out there, but I've not stumbled across it. One of the big knocks on Tyson appears to be the injury record that he has. I would love to see a study done that analyzes what are a college player's injuries that they've built up throughout college and how likely are they to re-aggravate some of those injuries in the NFL. Is that just something that people say because they are injured, or is it a real thing that is actually measurable? I'm not sure. I don't have the time to do it, unfortunately, but I would love to see that study done. Maybe someone has done it, but I think that would be really interesting to actually look at the numbers and see, is an injury record something that we should be concerned about, or actually is it just nothing really that of any discernible value? So I'd be interested to see, and Tyson would be someone I would be looking at with that data if it was out there. So he's locked in at your 6th pick as we roll into the second half of the first round. Where are you going with pick number 7?
So at this point, this is where we kind of see a drop off a bit.
Yeah.
If you have a first half pick, you're thrilled. Second half pick, it's a little more up in the air. Right now, though, today, is this Superflex tight end premium or just Superflex?
Just Superflex.
Okay.
But we could put a little premium on. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't affect where you. I'll not say the name out loud, but where you took your first tight ends. I think you would still be taking them perhaps here or the next pick. Why don't we whack on a little 0.5 premium guy?
Okay. All right. If that's the case, it makes it easier then. I will take KENYON SADIQ here. If there's a premium, really like his game. He's a player that, despite smaller frame, he's not as tall. He doesn't weigh as much as some of these other guys, but he actually is a solid blocker overall. But he does a lot in the receiving game. He's just a freak athlete. And I think if he's used right at the next level, we could see kind of this run of, rookie tight ends coming in and being difference makers right away. Another guy that I think has a very good shot to be a top 15 pick in this year's draft. So that draft capital on top adds an extra layer of intrigue for me. So I like KENYON SADIQ quite a bit. And he's not the only tight end in this class I like. There's some other guys that I like too, but I think he right now stands above everybody else.
I don't think this is necessarily their position of need, but the Kansas City Chiefs are in the firing line around that KENYON SADIQ pick. What would that do to his draft capital if he is the heir apparent to Travis Kelce?
I mean, we'll see him skyrocket. We'll see him absolutely skyrocket up boards. I mean, there will be people arguing in a tight end premium for him at 102. Yeah. So it would, and simply because it's Kansas City and what they've done with tight end, I'm not convinced that they ever go back to like one tight end doing all the work like they used to. It's definitely possible, but they've shown, Gray and other guys like that can be involved as well. So we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, it would be intriguing for sure.
Yeah, Robert Tonyan, who showed up halfway through the year. It's like, wow, this guy, I thought he retired. He just kind of suddenly appeared on the Chiefs. So it's like, yeah, so they can make it work. But we'd love to see SADIQ get a nice landing spot and continue this rookie uprising at tight end. That's been great to watch. So he's locked in at 107. Who's following at 18 for you?
All right, I'm going to make another assumption that this player does declare for the draft. According to Google's AI, he has, but I have not seen anything on Twitter about it, even despite looking for it. But I'm going to assume Justice Haynes does declare. And if so, he would be the guy for me here. Right now, he's my number 2 running back in the class. Former big-time high school recruit, went to Alabama, transferred to Michigan. And he did unfortunately get injured over the course of the second half of the season. But the first half of the season, I mean, the dude looked really, really good. Strong between the tackles, could break off big plays. I really, really liked what I saw out of Justice Haynes. So I think that they're in a class where we're not going to have a lot of running backs. He's one of the few hopes, beacons of hope out there, that there will be somebody else in this class outside of Love that is a fantasy relevant running back.
Yeah, I really like him. I compared him on a previous episode, and it sounds like a knock, but it's someone who I really liked in college, and I think could, maybe next year, depending on what happens with contracts, sort of see a bit of Zach Charbonnet in his game, the way that he plays. He can kind of do that power game, and then a better receiver than I thought he was going to be as well at Michigan. Did you notice that as well?
Yeah, no, he was a very, very solid pass catcher. No issues with him out of the backfield at all. He's not going to give you quite the same size that you get out of Charbonnet, but you're right, he does offer some good thump in the running game. So he's an interesting hybrid player. The guy that I kind of see him as a little bit right now is like a Mark Ingram is kind of what I'm seeing out of him right now. But yeah, really, really interesting player for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a great pick there at 118. Got a couple left, 4 to go in the first round, Garrett. Who's following Justice Haynes?
This one's really tricky for me. So after the first 6 picks, like I'm focused on floor a lot because I don't want to miss. And normally that's how I am most of the first round. But in this year's class, it's really just the top 6 for me. After that, I'm willing to sacrifice some floor for some ceiling because there is a bit of lack of floor in this class. So I am going to go with Chris Brazzell, wide receiver out of Tennessee. He's a player size-wise. I mean, he's a big boy. Good length to him, 6'4", 6'5". We'll see what he comes in at. But he's got really good speed overall. He's got good movement skills. I'm curious to see how he tests and everything. But Brazzell really, really impressed me this year at Tennessee.
Yeah, he was someone I've got on my notes. Just like he just sometimes I should have probably noted down who he's playing, but sometimes he just would absolutely cook whoever was covering him, and just 1v1. It was like, oh, good luck, because if he gets any kind of separation on it, he was just gone. And you would sometimes see what looked like broken plays for Tennessee, but actually it was just Brad just being so much faster and so much better than whoever was covering him. He's a real, you're right. Like if he gets used really nicely on a team, he could be absolutely exceptional. But it's one of those risks that you got to take with players like this. I mean, I believe he was at Tennessee. Did he even win the Biletnikoff Trophy? Jalen Hyatt was it Tennessee whenever he won the Biletnikoff?
He won the Biletnikoff, yep.
Kind of similar, although I think Brazzell actually, weirdly, even though he didn't win the Biletnikoff, slightly more well-rounded player than Hyatt ever was. Similar kind of risk that you're taking there, right? Although I pick up Hyatt every now and again, Garrett. I don't know if you do. I sometimes pick him off the waiver. I still sort of believe. I don't know why. That's stupid, right?
Hey, sometimes you have those guys that you can't quit them.
Yeah, exactly. He's on quite a few of my rosters, just sitting lingering. So hopefully that won't happen to Brazzell, and he'll have a much more fulfilled career eventually. But he's locked in at 9, 3 to go in the first round. Who's following Chris Brazzell the second?
Oh man. This gets tricky for me, but because he declared today, and I think he will end up being a first round quarterback, I can't let Ty Simpson slip out of this first round of the mock draft. I think you could take him as high as 1.7 right now and feel okay about it. He had an up and down season. Started off, just okay, then had a really strong stretch, and then struggled a bit then again towards the end of the season. I was surprised that he came out. I thought he could use another year of work, but he did declare, and maybe it's because right now we're expecting next year's quarterbacks class to be pretty strong. So maybe that was the reason that he decided to come out now, thought he had a better chance of being a first-round quarterback this year than he did next year. But we'll see. But if you're a first-round quarterback, especially in a year where we're only going to get 2 to 3 at most, you belong in the first round of a Superflex draft. So I'm going to put Ty Simpson there.
I don't know what happened. He was unbelievable for that a stretch where he was so accurate, so pinpoint, so precise. And then almost at the exact moment, I remembered he was the guy last year that dropped the ball before he ran in for a touchdown. As soon as I remembered that was him, he just turned from Ty Simpson to Homer Simpson. It was awful. Like,
I forgot that he did that.
Yeah, that I think it's my fault, Garrett. As soon as I remembered that, he turned back into a pumpkin like immediately. So I can only apologize to Alabama fans. This is my fault. Um, yeah, it's hard. I don't know what Ty Simpson we're going to get. If we're going to get the Ty Simpson from the middle of the season, great. If we get the guy from the end who's just throwing picks like Halloween sweets, I don't know what to do with him. It's super tricky. I can see exactly why you took him here outside of your top 6. Where do you think, is there anywhere he can go? Do you think he should sit for a year anyway?
I don't think it would be bad for him to sit for a year. He's another player that does not have as many starts as I would like to see. You know, I want to see them in that 30 ballpark. And he needs time. So yeah, I would prefer him to go somewhere. You know, if they have 2 first-round picks. I mean, if the Rams decided to say, hey, who's the heir apparent? I mean, that would be an amazing, amazing fit.
Yeah, that would be really nice for him. Actually, that would weirdly maybe bump him up a little bit, even though we know he's not going to start. But you would just trust Sean McVay so much to get the goods out of him. So yeah, he's great value there at the back end of the first round when you're taking a swing anyway. Why not take a swing at a quarter? That's what you say every single year. This is Jackson Dart last year. This is other people the year before. It's just take that swing, and if you hit, look, you're absolutely laughing now. So Ty Simpson could be the next one on that list. We got 2 to go. Where we're going to go with the penultimate pick of the first round.
Let's go ahead and go with. This is my last shot at a running back of a guy that I feel, assuming he gets day 2 capital, that I feel pretty good about. And that's Jonah Coleman, running back for the Washington Huskies. Reminds me of a Doug Martin, just kind of muscle hamster guy, breaks a lot of tackles, isn't going to be this, 4-3 type of guy or anything like that, but he's going to do a lot of running back things well. I could easily see him kind of falling under the umbrella of the Kyron Williams, Bucky Irving, Kyle Monangai, where they kind of bore you to sleep, but they just do so many things well, despite not being crazy good athletes. I think Jonah Coleman falls into that type of category. Yeah,
I'm right there with you. I think he's my running back 2 at the minute. But yeah, I've not dug in fully into the tape of Coleman. He's someone I have my eye on for a couple of years. Like the first time I seen him, I was almost like laughing because I was like, this guy's so like spherical, like looking that it's like almost like comic. But he's a great, absolute, like exactly the words I used in the show. I remember we had a mock draft 2 years ago. I was chatting to Phil, one of our Devi guys. I was like, yeah, you've seen this guy? It looks exactly like, I think I said Cannonball. And he's like, no, I'm not SpongeBob yet. So yeah, that turned out to be Jonah Coleman. So yeah, hopefully he's on a nice landing spot. He's locked in at the second last pick of the first round. Where are you going with your final pick of the first round then, Garrett?
Let's go ahead and stay in Washington, and we're going to go with Denzel Boston. I think there's a chance that we could get anywhere from 4 to 5 receivers in the first round of this class. I don't know for sure who they are, but I think Denzel Boston has just as good of a shot as anybody. We could see Jeremy Bernard potentially be in there. Casey Concepcion could be in there. We'll see where some of these guys end up landing, but I do like Denzel Boston. Another one I want to see how he does as far as testing goes. But I do think as long as our numbers aren't atrocious, I'm going to like him more than most. I think he's a very smooth operator, gets open, strong hands, a lot of the things that I really want to see out of the wide receiver position. He's not going to be this burner, but I do really like Denzel Boston. So we'll wrap up our first round mock with him.
Yeah, I really like Boston. One of the things I like the most about him is that he's one of those big, tall guys that it's like that realizes that he's a big tall. Some of these like giraffes like play like cats, you know what I mean? But this guy, he like, really uses his length. He uses his hands really well, high points the ball. Like I said, I'm really impressed with his catching so far anyway, before I've dug into the tape a lot. So yeah, I really like Denzel Boston. I think he could make a difference in the league next year. And he's a great way to round up the end of the first round. Garrett, we're not going to let you go just yet, because most of the time, people's favorite thing to do is chat about sleepers and my guys, and people's like, oh, I didn't quite get to talk about this guy. You got any players for us that you think, you know what, keep your eye on them in the second or even the third round?
Yeah, right now, until I do my deep dives, I usually don't have as many guys that I'm like, oh, I'm really jonesing for this player. But there is one guy that has stood out in my like very brief tape watching. And we're gonna go back to the tight end position here. That's Michael Trigg out of Baylor. Watching his tape, really, really impressed. Phenomenal athlete. He's not gonna give you much in the blocking game, and he's more of an undersized tight end, more of a big receiver, 6'3" type. You know, he's going to come in around probably 235, 240. But it's very rare for you to see a tight end be able to accelerate past defensive backs. And that's something that I saw him do. So he is very, very intriguing to me at the next level, finds the right landing spot. I think he could be very good.
I think I found the hill I'm willing to die on for now. Anyway, before I dive too far into the tape, I really like Trinidad Chambliss, Garrett. I'm going to say it with pride. I'd love that guy. I think he's so much fun. I think he could, if he gets a chance. We've seen him do it at Ole Miss. I think if he clicks, he could be great for Dynasty.
I think he could too. I really like Chambliss. Sounds like he's going to go back though. It doesn't sound like he's going to declare. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I'm with you. I do like that kid a lot as well.
Yeah, actually, that would be maybe best case scenario. Actually, if he does go back,
He was one of my sleepers on one of our college episodes this year. He was actually one of my sleepers. So I'm fully on board with that.
Nice. Are you at the position now as well, kind of like me, where the more time these guys can spend in college, the better for me. Like I trust them so much more coming out.
Yeah, for the most part. Running back's the one exception I'll make.
Yeah.
Really good guys. I just want to see you come out. It's a shorter window anyway. But everywhere else, yeah, tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, especially quarterback. I want you to have time. I don't want you coming out as a junior with 13 starts under your belt. Like I want you to stay and play and get a lot of reps there. So yeah, overall, I'm with you on that.
Absolutely love it. And Garrett, sadly, that brings us to the end of that amazing mock draft here on the Dynasty Hotseat. Thank you once again for coming on. Thank you everyone watching at home. If you've not already, leave a like and a subscribe as well. Hey, why not leave a comment? Who's your favorite sleeper for this class? Would be great to know. Garrett, before we let you get out of here, can you just remind everyone where can they find all your great work online?
Yeah, you can find all my stuff at Dynasty Nerds and dynastynerds.com. We're launching a new channel as well. It's called Draft Nerds. So it's going to be all things NFL draft, college, prospects, everything that you like to see there. So that'll be launching within the next few weeks.
Nice. Can't wait to check that out. And but I have to give a shout out to you guys. And I think I do this every year, Garrett. If you want to know where to go and watch any film to get started, what I use every single year, your draft room is a lifesaver. I have to be honest. It's the best place I can go to find any film. If you're thinking, how do I get extra information in there? Please go on to Dynasty Nerds, check out the film room that they've got because it is fantastic. We've had Matt Cooper on, now we've had Garret Price on. I can't speak highly of enough. So just a thank you from me for that.
Absolutely. No, it's where I watch all my tape as well. You know, it's not just, oh, we put this out for the fans but no, like every game that I watch, you have access to there as well.
Yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. So make sure you're checking out Dynasty Nerds. Thank you so much for watching the Dynasty Hotseat once again for myself and Garrett. That's another mock draft in the books. And remember, for anything Dynasty, you need to know. Keep it locked on the Certified Inferno. See you very soon. Bye-bye.